This topic came from our Discord, the long discussion I alluded to with Ryan Lyon and everybody else. It got me thinking about tournament success and how you evaluate a coach. There's a lot of coaches that have sort of made their careers off of overachieving in March. There's also a lot of coaches who have been plagued, and the narrative around them as coaches has become that they're not good coaches because they've had great regular season teams that underwhelm in March. So we have a lot of different opinions on this. I don't think anybody's right or wrong. I think it's very fair to prioritize how much you care about March success differently than somebody else does. But I want your input on how much you think it matters. Does a good coach have to be more successful than the norm in March? Can they just be what they are? Does it mean, like, if a coach keeps getting upset in March, like Matt Painter, does that mean that they're not a good basketball coach if they're really good teams with high seeds keep losing early in the tournament?
No, because I think it can be. I think two things can like coincide with each other, if that's the right word to use in the situation. I think you can be a good coach who hasn't got it done in March yet. Because for me, I always look at it this way: it really only takes one. Like, there's narratives around some coaches. You look back to like before they made Final Fours or before they made it there, the narrative around that coach was they're a good basketball coach. They just haven't got over the hump. I feel like that's the word you got to use. And getting over the hump can be difficult sometimes. I mean, depending on the matchups, depending on the tournament. If anything about the NCAA tournament we could look at last year, the best teams aren't always going to be the teams that win. The best teams aren't going to be the ones that make the Final Four and win championships. If that was the case, we would not have watched the Final Four that included FAU and San Diego State last year. Like, that's not how it basketball in the tournament goes. So I just don't, in my opinion, you cannot discredit or say a coach is not good just because they don't have March success, I guess. I think that March success can, propel some coaches. Like, if we're doing tiers, like if I'm doing A, B, C tier, there could be a C tier coach that's a good coach actually, but he can't get to B and A because of his, the tournament downfalls that he has. At the same time, though, I feel like you need to be able to look at tier A and be like, that coach might have had some okay regular seasons, some okay seasons, but you can't put him on a pedestal just because he had a run to the Sweet 16, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. I think it's all relative. This all goes back to, I don't think it's acceptable to say Matt Painter's not a good basketball coach. I think that's an asinine statement. And this is coming from the Discord, and this is all love in the Discord, and I'm staying middle on this. But I'm sorry, if you don't think Matt Painter is a good basketball coach, I have to seriously consider how you look at the game. That just is what it is. And you probably say the same thing about me if I said some things about certain coaches or certain players. That's fine. But like, if you don't think Matt Painters are good coaches, I mean, I don't know. I guess people come at me for I say some things about Shaka Smart sometimes. Shaka won the Big East last year. Did Shaka win the Big East tournament too?
Yep.
And he went out in the second round. I'm out on, I'm down on Shaka. Like, and that's why people probably come at me for saying things like that. But I don't know. I think a lot of personal preference comes into it as well. Like, it's hard to put bias aside, I think, when you're discussing coaches.
Yeah, it definitely is. And for the record, I don't think the person here, Ryan the Lion, is still standing on saying Matt Painter's a bad coach. I think he got caught a little bit with answering my hot take prompt with Painter should be on the hot seat. And then everybody was like, come on. And then now it's okay. Yeah, I didn't mean he's a bad coach. I just mean that he's underwhelmed or underachieved. To me, I think it's very important to distinguish between doing two things when talking about coaches and tournament success. There's legacy, and then there's how good you are as a coach. A legacy is like, what are your brightest accomplishments? If you make a resume of all the successes and failures you had in your career, that defines your legacy. And there will be coaches who have moments of magic where they make it to a point where they shouldn't make it to, whether that's due to luck, whether that's due to extreme IQ coaching, drawing up the right play at the right time, whether that's due to draw, whether it's due to any circumstance. Like that defines your legacy to me. Like we can look back. Porter Moser is always going to be able to retire and say he made a Final Four as a coach. That is on his legacy. That is there. It's never going away. There's go through Jim Larinaga, Dusty May, and Brian Dutcher. Those aren't 3 of the 4 best coaches in the country last year, but they will always have the legacy of the run they made last season. That's important. That has nothing to do with how good you are as a coach to me. And like at a certain point, when the sample size is large enough, looking back at the end of your careers, of course, you want to say you coached for 30 years and you got over the hump and you had these moments. But the truth is, the greatest coaches in this game often don't have success in March because March is crazy. Every single year, there's a variable with the NCAA tournament. It is the most unpredictable event in any sport that we have. And like go up and down the list, literally name me the greatest coaches that we've had. Coach K lost to a bunch of teams way worse than him throughout his career.
Yeah, lost to Lehigh, like Bill Self, Northern Iowa, Ali Farouk Mahesh.
John Calipari currently keeps losing games he shouldn't lose. Like this, it happens in sequences. It happens to everyone. That's the important thing here. There isn't a coach in the country that just doesn't get bit by the craziness of the NCAA tournament. You literally can't name me one. So you can, on the flip side, name me coaches who haven't gotten over the hump. And my opinion, my argument would be that over time, as time goes on, we'll probably see that change. Like if you give Matt Painter 15 more chances at having teams that are in the top 4 seeds, at some point he's going to stumble his way into a really easy draw. Not saying Fairleigh Dickinson wasn't an easy draw, but at a certain point, it's just going to work. Like, and I get it. I think it's fair to criticize him. I think it's fair to criticize any coach, like your Shaka thing. I think it's fair, but just step back broadly and realize how much luck is involved with tournament success. There is no luck involved with regular season success. There's not. Like it's a 30-game sample size. If you win a conference championship, there's 0 luck involved in doing that. There's a lot of luck involved. And my favorite coach in college basketball history is one of the biggest recipients of it. Like everyone in the world would point at John Beilein and say, that guy was great in March. Was he great in March because he had some magic March touch? Or was he great in March because Trey Burke hit a 40-foot jump shot and Jordan Poole made a miracle heave? Yeah. Like you have to have those moments. Yeah. And across the board, it like Matt Painter's moments have gone against him in those games.
If you just get past St. Peter's and what a dialogue we're having about Purdue.
If Kihei Clark doesn't make the greatest pass in NCAA tournament history, like they are in the Final Four, and like
and they might have won it.
And I get like it's bad for his legacy. That's why it goes back to legacy versus coaching ability. If you want to say Painter's legacy is way behind where it should be, I have no problem with saying I agree with you there. If you try and spin that into Painter's a bad coach or Painter's not a good enough coach to win in March, there's something about him as a coach that's holding Purdue back. That's just wrong because at a certain point, it's on your players to make those moments happen. Like you as a coach, you can't tell me that Matt Painter was doing anything wrong in the Fairleigh Dickinson game. His players were terrified. That's not on Matt Painter that his guys wouldn't shoot the ball and couldn't make a shot. And there's other years you could probably pick at. Maybe the year where Edie's on the bench and Travion Williams is on the court. Sure, we can nitpick.
Hey.
But yeah, I forgot this is a pro Travion podcast.
Relax.
But I'm just saying, like, just remember how much luck is involved. And if you want to talk about how much the tournament matters, it matters for legacy. It doesn't matter for how good you are as a coach. That's it.
I agree. I'm with you.
Okay. That's all. I just feel like it had to be said. This is going to be so hard for you because I feel like we have really adopted the torch for Purdue in a variety. Like we want to see Matt Painter win. We want to see this team have success just to kill all these narratives. But if they do that, it directly hurts your team in a great year.
No, already had that base covered. I'm telling you, regular season, they're not gonna hold it in higher regard like they have, and they're just gonna focus on March. That's my goal.
Oh, okay. All right. So if Michigan State wins the regular season and Purdue wins the national championship, you're okay with that?
No, okay, relax on national championship. No, All
All right, all right, all right.
where did State lose? Did State lose to Purdue in the national championship game?
Let's go to the final topic today. Again, hot takes.